Good morning, friends, and welcome to this session on emotional drivers. A quick recap of what we have covered so far. We started with developing a champion's mindset, becoming resilient, choosing to be in a victor mindset, taking responsibility for how we are creating our lives, being Aham Brahmasmi. And then we went on to uh, deciding making the movie of our life, how that is going to be. We saw Albert Einstein saying that imagination quotient is more important than intelligence quotient. Imagination is more important than knowledge. And how, when we are wanting what we are wanting, also calibrate that against our values. Sometimes we want something, but that doesn't align with what we truly value, and that creates conflict. So understanding what we value, understanding what others value is very, very important, because a conflict in the values is what creates all the conflicts, actually. So that was the second session. The third session was how do we find time to actually make our vision come true? And we talked about quadrant two and uh, the activities that we need to prioritize, making a monthly activity schedule and putting the quadrant two activities right there upfront so that that gets done first. We saw that video from Dr. Stephen Covey where he talks about the big rocks, putting the big rocks first, and then the small ones just find their way around it. The last session was so the first three were taking charge of ourselves as an individual, and then we moved into taking charge of ourselves and others, and we started with compassionate leadership, where we talked about how compassionate leadership is the best leadership example, and each one of you shared examples of those leaders in your life who were compassionate and how they helped you perform at your best. Ashish, I think, gave a very beautiful example of how his leader who was compassionate but also very tough helped him grow the business nearly 100% in 2 years' time. And we're taking that journey forward. Today, we talk about emotional drivers. And before we dive into what emotional drivers is about, I would like you to type in the chat or unmute and speak about all the challenges you face with while working at your workplace, whether with your colleagues, juniors, or seniors, peers, anyone. What are the challenges you face? So some things I'll just get you started by sharing with you some of the things I hear. People don't listen to me. There is too much of politics at workplace. I'm not able to collaborate, or people don't collaborate, people don't support, things like that. So what are the challenges that you face at your workplace? Please type in the chat or unmute yourself and speak. And as we go through the session, keep applying what we are discussing to how it will help you address those challenges. That is the idea of the session today. How do we manage, understand our own emotions and the emotions of other people so that we are able to manage them better and get increase our influence and get the work done. So that is the context of our session today.
So in I keep on saying my previous workplace because that is the place where I have spent a lot of valuable time. So there, when I had initially joined, so it was a shelter home, 22 years old. The person who started it, I mean, not exactly, I mean, she joined the time the NGO was registered. So she has spent almost a decade, and it was tough. First, to assure her that I am not here to take away anything from you, but to support. So
Mm.
that insecurity was something which was very challenging. But somehow, I always felt that a person who has been handling uh, the fort for so many long years has has a lot of solid matter inside her. So I want to respect that and keep on handling the rude exterior. Gradually, it took me around 6 to 7 years to just become, friends. And now it took me 6 to 7 years to just make her feel assured that I am not a competitor, but I am just here to support. So
Mm-hmm.
that was that. And now things are totally, totally different. I have left that place, but our relationship continues to grow every day. But here in my new place, what I am facing is not what there I felt that it's something which I can influence gradually. Of course, it was a long period, but I knew that I could influence. Here in my current workplace, challenges is okay, but this is something like a bias, a closed minded boss, extremely um, opinionated about everything, and these opinions are not grounded.
Mm-hmm.
They come out of his fears, fears of failing. So whatever I do, the people I recruit, the work I am taking in hand, the assurances I give, there is always a question mark कि नहीं होगा तुम्हारा ये project is it's born to die, it's born to die. And when the ground level people, when they hear certain such things from the boss, it's very difficult.
Got it. Got it.
So that's why I was saying that the only thing which helped me maintain my calm was that video, that keep your calm, be calm and peaceful, and things will happen because they are meant to be. That is what I have thought. ये होके रहेगा. No,
Mm.
against all odds which he is throwing at me for everything, there is no appreciation, that is fine, but don't discourage, don't think कि अरे ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm saying that this all Nightingale video happened at a very right moment. Otherwise, things would have been very difficult for me and the team to handle. Just because someone is afraid to face the difficulties doesn't mean that it is not going to happen. There are challenges that will be surmounted, but you need to have that faith. So this is
Mm-hmm.
what my current challenge is.
Interesting, Sudeshna. Today we will understand in the session today what are emotions, how do we identify emotions, how do we deal with them, and we're also going to see a very powerful scarf framework. I'm not going to talk about what scarf is, but you will see it. And when we are going through each one of this, keep applying to your situation and see how would you be able to manage your own emotions and the emotions of fear and insecurity in others using what we are discussing today. Uh, all right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Sudeshna. Venkateshwar, anything you would like to share?
I send a chat box.
Unable to truly, some people feel promise, but uh, do not keep it. Okay. Sometimes I have to repeatedly ask the same thing to get an answer. Okay. People want, okay. We've heard from Anjana also. Ashish.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Ashish. Hmm. Anything
So
you,
see,
yeah.
sir, many times the situations are like this that despite knowing everything, we tend to behave in the way which we are pre-wired. So, and many times we are bound to react. So if something, in my case, when I discovered that my own sister has done this thing, which means you can say she has selfishly done and taken monetary benefit in totality worth 3 crores, and then she left my father at Tiala home alone, and she did not think of me. So suddenly it is bound for me to react. I'm keeping peace, but my family and other people many times speak in a way in which I also tend to get agitated. So it is all managing self. So although we know many things, but we tend to forget when we get in ourselves in a difficult situation.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Ashish. I understand you're going through a tough situation, and hopefully, what we will discuss today will help everybody deal with the challenges that you have just shared about.
It's right.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, what we're going to be understanding today is what are emotions, and emotions are really very powerful because it is energy in motion. If we have a thought, we may not really act on it. But when, we feel a powerful emotion like anger or happiness, either we want to slap somebody or go and hit someone, or we want to go and hug someone, so emotions basically motivate us to do something. So, or if I'm feeling sad, I may want to go and have a drink, or, if I'm feeling happy, I may want to go and party. So emotions basically help us move things, and that is why it is very important for us to understand and be able to manage our emotions and the emotions of other people. Think in terms of a mother getting angry and slapping her child, or abuse amongst the spouses, whatever may be happening. Emotions basically have the energy to move us. There are few primary emotions that we are already very aware of: happy, sad, disgust, anger, fear, and surprise. But there are so many nuances to these emotions that we really don't pay much attention to. And emotional intelligence is understanding and identifying the primary emotions and going beyond them to see where we are. And once we are finely tuned into our emotions, and we will see how do we do that, our ability to act and manage others becomes so much better. Normally, we don't pay much attention to emotions because mostly what we have heard from people is, why are you so emotional? You are an emotional fool. Think logically. Don't think emotionally. This is what we normally hear. And we are not even taught how to handle our emotions. In schools and colleges, they really don't teach us how to handle our emotions. And it doesn't come instinctively to us to understand and manage our emotions. So it becomes very important for us to first identify and then be able to manage the emotions that we have in ourselves and in others. I shared my own journey of being an emotional fool, and how it's been a journey, like I said, on getting better and better in identifying my own emotions and the emotions of other people. Normally, people talk of emotional fool as being someone who's very emotional, but I would tend to describe emotional fool as somebody who is not in touch with his or her own emotions or the emotions of other people. And like I have two teenage daughters, and it can be really challenging to handle teenage daughters. Sometimes they're very sad, sometimes something happens with their friends. And most of the times, my initial thing is to just calm them down, to listen to them, and have them express themselves. And one of the biggest complaints they have about their mothers is that, Mom, you just don't listen to me. So when we take time to tune into the emotions of other people, our ability to influence the course of action is so much better. Mostly what happens is when people come and talk to us, or, we're in an emotional disturbed situation, we try and do something about it without really letting them feel into their emotions or express their emotions fully. Emotional intelligence has got a couple of components. One is understanding our own emotions, as I mentioned earlier, managing our emotions, which is something that we discussed in great detail in our session in Swiss Knife, which is understanding that the impermanence of emotions. Emotions come and pass away. They are never permanent, like anger or a desire to smoke. The urge will come and pass away. The anger will, so people say, I have anger issues. and I say, how many hours in a day are you angry? No, no, not hours, just maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. But but people tend to label themselves, or others tend to label themselves as angry because they're even if they're angry for 15 minutes a day, other times they're calm, they still get labeled as angry. So understanding your emotions, understanding that they are impermanent, letting them pass rather than yielding into it, So think of it in terms of an argument colleagues in office are having. So rather than get into a heated argument, you just understand this person is upset and you let it pass. And we saw that in the compassionate leadership session, also the barking dog. Understand the hurt and the pain that is, person has, and connect with that rather than the outside behavior, and motivating oneself, recognizing emotions in others, and handling relationships. So these are the components of emotional intelligence. And as I mentioned, I hope, did you all get to see the video that I shared yesterday about my journey? Quickly type yes or no. Venkateshwar saw. Sudeshna, yes,
Yes,
Sudeshna
yes.
saw it. Ashish and Anjana, did you see my video? Okay, yeah, Ashish, no, Anjana, okay. So my you can see it, Anjana, while you're on your way. It is about my journey and of becoming emotionally intelligent. And the last part, last leg of the journey was when my coach Thaddeus. So this was December 2020, and I signed up for a coaching program with Thaddeus. And as a part of that exercise, he asked us to set goals for 2021. And when I set goals, Thaddeus asked me, what do you feel about them? And I said, I don't feel anything. And he said, what does that tell you about yourself? I said, I don't know. And then he asked me to do this exercise, which was brilliant. Uh, these questions are very simple, but when you practice this on an ongoing basis, it really puts you in touch with your own emotions, and it that completely opens up a new insight. And these questions are, what emotions am I feeling now? Or did I feel today? And identify the intensity of those emotions. What triggered that emotion? What am I learning about myself? And where in the body do I feel this emotion? And that was another great learning about emotions I had, which is that emotions reside in our body. Most of the times, most of us are living our lives in the head, in the mind. We are not really tuned into our body. But when we tune into our body, there is a completely different world of intelligence that opens up. There was a study done by University of Iowa, in which they had fMRI scans, and they had people playing a card game. And it was like real game, so people could win money or lose money. They were given, it's an experiment, so they were given money. But if they win, they can take away they can walk away with the earnings. And that this was an experiment. So people who were playing red deck were bound to lose, and people who were playing blue deck were winning. They will win more times, and those who are playing red deck will lose more times, and as a consequence, that they will lose money. And what happened is, after playing 80 rounds, people start figured this out, that there is something with the wrong with the red deck. But was what was more interesting was, after about 50 rounds, sorry, after about 50 rounds, they started having a hunch that there is something wrong. It was a hunch, but it was not a like complete cognitive awareness like they got after 80th round, that there is something wrong. But what was most interesting was, after playing 10th round, there were tiny sweat on their palms. So the body had already figured out at the end of 10th round that there is something wrong with the red deck cards, which the mind could figure out only after playing 80 rounds. So when we are tuned into our body, our ability to get the intelligence, tune into the infinite intelligence is far, far better. Our ability to take decisions that way becomes very, very good. And one of the great ways to tune into body intelligence is by way of body scan meditation. I'm not sure if we will get to do a body scan meditation today, but I'll share the recording of a body scan meditation with you. And this is a meditation you can do sitting or lying down. It is also very relaxing. But the best part of that is it helps you tune into your body and into the body intelligence that is there. And that way you are much quicker able to tap into emotions of others, and the ability to take decisions is so much better. And when we are not able to handle our emotions, the most uh, intelligent of the people can have disastrous consequences. I don't know if you have seen this movie Kabir Singh. Please type yes if you have seen Kabir Singh movie. Type Y. It was a massive grosser. Some 300, 400 crores business it did. Yeah, Sudeshna has seen it. So if you've not seen it, maybe you can watch it. This movie about a doctor, very, very, very intelligent doctor. They don't talk about it, but looks like it's AIMS. That's the kind of institution they're looking at. The guy is highly intelligent because to get into a top quality institution, you definitely need to be very intelligent. But he's not able to handle his emotion. And as a result of that, he gets into many problems. He gets into drinking and gets into many problems. And once he was, urged to conduct a surgery, which he did in the state of completely being drunk. The surgery was successful, but the fact reached the medical council and his license was terminated. So if you're not able to handle our emotions, it can have grave consequences for our career. And this is not only filmy. Even one of the coaching clients that came to me, in fact, the corporate asked me to, coach this particular individual who was a fast track career, high potential, high performer kind of and he was growing very well in the organization but had temper issues. So during one of the meetings in the office, he got into an argument with somebody and then went up and grabbed the other person by his collar. And as the culture of this organization is, they completely don't tolerate behavior like this, and he was then suspended from the organization for a couple of weeks. uh, he could have been terminated also. Okay, but somehow he was just suspended. So if we are not able to manage our emotions, then the consequences can be very grave for people. So it is very important for us to listen to our emotions and use them as our guidance system. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the best ways to do it is by way of body scan meditation, which I'll share the link with you. I would definitely urge you to do it whenever you are free for it's a 20-minute meditation. So do it when you are not going to be distracted. It really helps you tune into your body and into the wisdom which is there in the body. This is a study I talked about. And there are many benefits also. Once we are emotionally intelligent, it helps us be calm and have clarity of mind, be resilient. As Sudeshna was saying, she's able to handle it much better, and the quality of our relationship goes up. And emotional intelligence is the reason why people perform very, very well at workplace. So this is highly correlated with stellar work performance. Even Ashish was talking about it last time, that with a compassionate boss, compassion and emotional intelligence are closely interrelated. The performance goes up. Emotional leaders are far more effective. And not only are we happier, our teams are also happier. So that is there are many benefits, and it is commonly said in the corporate world that IQ helps you only in the first 5 or 10 years of your career. After that, it is mostly your emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. Sorry, which will take you ahead in your life. It is your ability to deal with your peers, subordinates, bosses. How do you engage with different stakeholders is what determines how far we will go in our life. So I'll pause here to see if you have any questions or comments before we go into the SCARF model. Anything anybody would like
Mhm.
to share? Yes, Ashish.
Yeah. See, my question is this: in extremely tough situations, sometimes we are bound to express some of the emotions, and it is not possible to suppress all the emotions. And although it may not be very you can say optimum to express the emotions, but if the intensity, we can control the intensity, we can control the manner, but it is very difficult to, if something very serious happens to, we cannot suppress it totally.
Yeah, definitely, Ashish. Understand that. And this one is not about suppressing, because if we suppress emotions, it's going to be counterproductive.
Yeah.
Like in the video I shared, I suppressed my grief, and that had very devastating consequence on me. So we are not talking about suppressing. We are talking about being aware of our emotion. And when we are aware of our emotions, we are able to handle it better. And that does not mean that you don't shout or you don't do whatever you want to do, be angry, but you do it with a better sense of awareness. And that awareness helps you control it better, manage it better, rather than just go with the flow and keep talking and, really ruining the relationships. I'm sure everybody would have one instance where either they or someone they know would have wished that I wish I had not said this, or I wish I had not done this. वो किसी ना किसी के साथ तो हुआ है कि हमने या तो किसी को थप्पड़ मार दिया या पीट दिया या कुछ बोल दिया ऐसा कि वो बहुत डिवास्टेटिंग हो जाता है. सो वो चीजें थोड़ी इसमें बेटर मैनेज हो जाएंगी.
Right, Ji.
या
What I just want to add and respond to Ashish ji is that your session in, I think, MSK, where you had spoken on taking a pause, that that is such a powerful weapon, not a weapon, a tool, that just a pause will help us choose which emotion will flow. So while Ashish ji, I totally empathize with you and I can understand the kind of, I don't know what is it, but whatever you have spoken, it's a lot of money involved and a lot of trickery you feel that has happened with you. But practice pause and it helps a lot. I know I can never, you may be thinking that तुमको कुछ पता नहीं मेरे साथ क्या हो रहा है. Agreed, but I have practiced taking a pause, and another thing I have practiced, silence. So मतलब दिमाग में हजारों चीजें हैं, but just practice silence. I have practiced it, and I have seen a transformation in people's behavior towards me. Yes, now there can be silences being practiced by a lot of, body language. So while working on silence, body language also has to be worked upon. So while you are saying that it cannot be done, no, it can be done. Yes, it is difficult. Of course, it is difficult. And many times I slipped off the handle and again I lost it. But then immediately that awareness comes back that yes, I have lost it. Earlier, I would not even know that I have lost it. So simply that awareness helps a lot. Next time, again, next time. That's it.
Puna, as you keep practicing, yes, Venkateshwar.
Sir, I have one question, sir.
Hmm.
Suppose we are expressing our emotions to some suddenly, other person may be emotional herself, himself. Then she or he might start expressing emotion without awareness. So it might start a chain reaction. Like I didn't.
Help me understand. You're saying I am emotional myself, and
I
I'm
had,
getting. Uh,
you're telling me something, sir. That emotion, what you express, triggered some emotion in me. I'm getting angry.
yeah,
Then my anger again, you're reacting to that.
yeah.
So
It's
that
like
can change.
putting fuel into fire, you know. So both of you
Something like
are in
that.
a highly emotional charged state, and then
Yeah.
there is an argument like situation, right? That's what
Yeah.
you're. So
Even being aware may cause that too sometimes.
if you are aware, then you can pause, like Sudeshna is saying,
Yeah.
understand that the other person is emotionally charged, and then you just step back and pause the conversation. You know, like I'll give you an example of one of my when one of the companies I was working with. I went into the room of the person who was heading strategy for the organization, and he was standing and pacing in his cabin. And the minute I walked in, he talked to me very calmly. He said, Ashish, don't discuss anything with me right now. I'm very angry. You know, so he was seething with anger, but he was talking calmly. Okay. So there was this anger inside of him, which he was aware of. Like he could have said that, Ashish, you go. I don't want to talk to you. No, no, not like that. Very calmly. So it is understanding your own emotion and be dealing with it. Then you're able to handle with the emotion of other people also. So if you know I am angry, the other person is also getting angry, call it out. Okay, let's pause this discussion. We don't seem to be seeing each other's point of view. So you can pause this discussion there, Venkateshwar, and resume it afterward sometime. Maybe 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, next day, whatever. So pause it. We are not here to try to prove things right or wrong to somebody. We are not here to win debate. You know, I don't know who the person is, but I assume that the relationship is important to you. Okay. So be compassionate, be patient, take a break, and then come back to the discussion when you and he or she is in a better frame of mind. Both of you are in a better frame of mind. नहीं तो यहाँ आग लगी हुई है उसके ऊपर आपने पेट्रोल डाल दिया तो और आग हो जाएगी. हाँ?
Yes, sir.
Is that making sense, Venkateshwar?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You
That
try it and
1 to 2 seconds before answering something might help.
pause before. Practice the pause.
Pause.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anjana, anything you want to bring up?
Uh, I think pause is extremely important. And like you said, there could be an emotion which is a resultant of a different situation. And applying it in general because that's how you're reacting without understanding or realizing that it doesn't need to be extended to a third person.
Hmm.
That's like really important. And the third person may not really understand why this is happening.
Hmm.
Just 1 second. So, I think the whole process of understanding and then what is very important is that we need to understand how to release that emotion because if we don't address it, if we don't release it, then it's going to be bottled up and it's going to be simmering and it's just going to grow bigger. It's like, the small stone
Hmm.
would become a large boulder. And then when
Hmm.
it finally erupts, it's going to create
Yeah.
a lot of other impact.
Yeah, that's very nicely said, Anjana. And that is something I talk about in my video also, that fully feeling the feeling is very healing. One of my teachers says this often. And there's something which I also tell a lot with my daughters. When they come shouting, crying, whatever, I say, whatever you're feeling, feel that fully. Maybe I'll not say this to them, but I actually let them feel whatever without feeling guilty. Like if they're crying, I would say, no, no, stop crying. You shouldn't cry. Or if they're angry, I won't say don't feel angry, or they're sad. Whatever you're feeling, feel it fully. And that way your body knows how to process that emotion. And then either for yourself or for others, don't shy from feeling your emotions or expressing your emotions. I think that is one of the best things that we can do, create an environment where it is safe for people to feel and express their emotions. There is magic which happens when we do that. All right. So with that, now we will move to the other part of the session, which is about the SCARF model. And this SCARF model is talked about by Dr. David Rock in his book called Your Brain at Work. And this is a very powerful framework in understanding what motivates people's behavior at workplace. Not only workplace, what basically motivates people behavior. And this framework is, I really love this. And he says that people are more motivated by avoiding loss rather than wanting to gain, because that gets very heavily imprinted our brain. Any negative experience gets very heavily imprinted our brain. So this one is understanding the SCARF model is about increasing our influence at work. And when we understand this, think better influence will translate into what? It will translate into your ability to collaborate better, get better rewards, more resources, so on and so forth, right? So how do we increase our influence and respond, understand how others are behaving, why they are behaving, is what this is about. Now, what Dr. David Rock says is there are 5 domains of social experience that brain treats as primary reward or threat. Now, what is primary threat? Primary threat is survival threat. I have talked about this often, that we have lived in jungles for over 6 million years. And out of the 6 million years, maybe 5.9 billion years, we were living in jungle. Of the, yeah. So we have a very old brain in a new body. So our brain is still is still treating the threats as survival threats. Okay. And how these are survival threats, we are going to see now. First is status. So any increase in status is a reward, but any decrease in status is a threat to the identity, to my survival. Now think it in terms of everything that we do in our life is to increase our status. Whether it is a bigger designation, bigger house, bigger car, we are doing everything to increase our status because our status so closely determines our survival. Okay. And anything that is a threat to my status, is a threat to my existence. That is how my brain takes it. That's how. So understanding this in our context and in the organizational context is very interesting. And let us look at some examples. So if I win at a game, okay, then it is increase in status. So it is very good. And thinking in terms of the awards people win at workplace, organizations win award, their status goes up in the industry. Department wins award, their status goes up. Or zones win awards, their status goes up. In a relationship, people update their relationship status on social media. In a relationship, got married, got divorced. So, getting married in a relationship is better status than being single, being divorced. So this is also driven by threat of status. Cabin. So in one organization that I used to work with, the chief operating officer had this habit of calling everybody into his cabin and making them stand. He wouldn't even get them to sit and talk to people, give orders, etc. And then when the new, we used to operate in an old office, and then we moved into a new office where the CEO decided to have a cabinless office. Okay, so everybody, including the CEO and everybody else, is sitting without cabins. And this guy suddenly felt so out of place because he doesn't have this cabin. And now publicly, he can't get people to come and stand in front of him and give them orders or rebuke them. He felt like chicken without head, completely clueless. And, he had a hard time. So sometimes having cabin, not having cabin can itself be a very stressful and threat. Or somebody who didn't have a cabin now gets a cabin is or getting the corner cabin. All these are status. And if somebody gets a corner cabin, it's an elevation in his status. Somebody loses cabin, that is a state loss of status, and so on and so forth. Increment. It's not the increment that I get, it's the increment in comparison to the others that determines my status. Promotions. Sometimes people give designations. So even if they can't promote you, they will improve your designation because that reflects status, not only internally, but externally also. Showing kindness, respect, improves status. Think, or if you are shouting at, or if a boss publicly rebukes somebody, it's a reduction in status for that person. How would that person feel? Okay, so these are the different ways status plays out in our life. And I would like you to think of it in your context, how at some point of time in your life an increase in status helped you, or you use the strategy to motivate some of your employees, or how did this play out in your life? Does this uh, give you any aha moments? Are there any bulb on moments for you when you think about status as being the primary driver? Think in terms of education also. If you do your MBA from IIM or from other college, it's a status. So everything that we are doing, whether it is education, work, designation, progress, relationships, everything is driven to improve our status. So reflect on it and please share how does this land on you, and does this give you any insights about your life, your relationships?
Yes, yes. In fact, this is a very interesting thing which you have said, that actually the survival threat was status. So I belong to a very middle class family, and my thoughts, my upbringing, my way of life is extremely middle class. Now, then from such a family, and uh, we have struggled a lot to give some kind of standard of life to our children. So when my daughter, she completed hotel management, and ओके ठीक है, सभी बच्चे पढ़ते हैं तो उसने भी पढ़ा, इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. But then, just a minute. Sorry. So, but when she was doing hotel management from Shillong IHM, and from the entire, there is something called OCLD, which is the Oberoi Center for Learning and Development. So the Oberoi group does this campus interview across all IHMs. There are 62 IHMs, and from the northeast zone, where there is Guwahati IHM and Shillong, she was the only one to be selected. And she was the Only one across 62 who was from a college where the first time a person is getting selected for OCLT. Otherwise, it's a very tough thing. Initially, I didn't understand what it was because for us it was hota hoga. But gradually, whenever people from this hospitality sector, they were, अरे OCLT crack किया, क्या बात है, life settled, life settled, life settled. And suddenly, in the family, I mean, there are two families, right? One is uh, the family where I grew up, and one is the family where I am wedded to. So the family where I grew up, they have a different outlook that ye ladki na, she ruined her life because she married someone, and the life is just going on and on. And the family where I am wedded to, they think that she is too, it's an Orthodox family, so they think that I am too casual with my children. And ladki ko itna dur padhne bhej diya and all that. So that family suddenly took me into notice. Me means uh, now I realize that it was not me. It was the status that my daughter getting into Oberoi was suddenly a push. वो मुझको भी तो लिफ्ट करा दे वाला एंड द फैमिली वेयर आई एम वेडेड टू उनको भी लगा कि नहीं उन्होंने किया बट कुछ अच्छा ही हो रहा है
हाँ,
but 2 years it was a 2 years management trainee program. Later on uska 5 years ka employment was set, life was just set. Just 24 days before the second year was getting over and she was to graduate as an Oberoi employee, she decided to quit. And I remember the date, 5th of June 2023. And I remember how difficult it was for me to accept. And till date, no doubt, because by now I am a trained parent, I managed to somehow show that koi baat nahi, teri life hai, tu kar le, jo bhi kar le. But actually, I was extremely unhappy, upset, and it is because of this status that I was showing her off as a trophy. That देखो इतना middle class upbringing है, and still she made it there. And now एक साल हो चुका है, she has shifted completely her area of work and all, and she is happy, and that is what is important. That even if it was a very glam kind of a job with a
yeah,
fat pack check, yet she wasn't happy. And she realized that this is not what I want. I want happiness. And I'm happy that she had that emotional
yeah,
maturity and
yeah,
I didn't.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice, very powerful. Thanks for sharing that, Saleshna. Also, think in terms of your previous boss that you were talking about, who was insecure. Why was she insecure? Do you see a status threat there?
Ah, yes, of course. No, she was not my previous boss.
Ah,
She was
previous
my
colleague.
previous colleague. Yeah.
Colleague, yeah.
Yes,
So,
extremely insecure.
okay. So, a threat to my status, as I am the founder, and then she has also come, is I perceive it as a threat to my status, and that is why, then so many things happened around that. So, with this understanding, you can navigate this better, and we will come to that subsequently. Uh, Anybody else would like to share? Venkateshwar, Ashish, Anjana?
Yes, I would like to share that last year when my son got admission in IIT Bombay, so it was a kind of very great moment. A lot of people were congratulating us, and I also felt elevated and very happy. Although he has to study, he will earn at a later date, and what will happen that only God knows. But it was kind of status. So I was telling happily my colleagues in the office, even our neighbors, our friends. So everyone was kind of appreciating and congratulating us. So my son was also feeling good, but he was not extremely happy because he was comparing himself with his very close friends who scored within 300 rank, and he got 1800 rank. So I was telling him that out of 11 lakh 51,000 students, you have scored 1800 rank. It is still an achievement.
Yeah.
So, but he was telling his friend has got a 300 rank, 200 rank, like that. He made this mistake, that mistake. But it was kind of very good and happy moment. Until date, I'm very happy about it.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. Anything from your workplace, Ashish, that reflects you that about the status thing that worked for you, against you, or some other colleagues in your organization who got
Yes,
trouble? No.
yes, yes. See, if on this on the office front, see, I believe in just like you mentioned that we what we can do, we will keep doing. But throughout my career, what has happened that I'm not able to manage office politics. So I hardly get indulged. There are people who will spend more than 50% time in politics and in influencing others. So I believe in because I believe that if we put our good effort and best foot forward, the performance will be very good. So in office front, although I am able to make very good impression and I am able to generate very good revenue, but on the personal front, this office managing office politics, and there are people of who will have certain kind of jealousy and who will have certain kind of own fears. Out of fears they will do, because I just to mention that in one of my peers in my current company, he is from Bihar, and I have seen many people who are from Bihar. Very they're very strong in politics. So although they have less competency, so this has happened, and I have experienced at multiple locations in all my career. Is managing office politics is also very important, and I get to know, but I get to know the things at a later date. So this thing has harmed me in throughout my career. Otherwise, I would have grown to country director, even in Philips, even in all my past companies.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about office politics, does this is this a victim or victor mindset, Ashish?
See, it is a victim mindset, but on the personal front, I am doing my best. But
Pause,
see,
pause, pause. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about politics, we think in terms of something bad is happening to us compared to others. Is there a different way you can term it so that it's more in your circle of control versus in circle of concern, which is outside your control? Can you term that little differently?
yes, it is out of our control, because who is talking to whom we never know.
Okay. Let me put it in a different way, Ashish. Let's call it stakeholder management. Okay. Office politics की जगह हम उसको stakeholder management बोलेंगे. And then stakeholders are different people. It could be your peers, it could be your seniors, it could be your juniors. And we say that rather than being involved in politics, I am involved in stakeholder management. So, and which is a part of my JD, because if I am able to do this, I'm able to do my job better in a sustainable manner. How does that sound?
Yes, it is a better term. Yes,
Yep.
it is better.
And from my experience and my journey of being emotionally intelligent now, from being an emotional fool, which you have seen, ऑफिस पॉलिटिक्स इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स है नहीं जितना हम लोग को लगता है. आराम से मैनेज हो सकती है अगर थोड़ा सा हम लोग इंटरेस्ट और इंक्लिनेशन उस तरफ दिखाएं तो. Basically, and that is what the SCARF framework is about. Understanding the drivers at workplace, how if we threaten डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली अगर किसी का स्टेटस थ्रेटन हो गया तो वो तो आपका फो हो गया, वो आपका एनिमी हो गया. ओके. सो हाउ डू वी enhance our own status? How do we enhance our status without at the cost of other person's status being harmed, etc.? Yeah, are the things which will help us navigate the organizational minefield more carefully. Okay, वही आज explore करते हैं आशीष. Okay.
Right.
Anjana Venkateshwar.
Nothing at present, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, Anjana, you going something?
Yeah, no, what you said is absolutely right. And this is very ironic. Like, when you look at, when you fear something, right? A lot of times you start fearing something because it could be you had a negative experience, or to do that, like if you say stakeholder management or politics, why do we not like politics, or why do we say somebody is better in politics? It's more because it's a skill set that you haven't developed or you don't understand, and because of which you fear it, because you don't know how to go about things. So for you, the connotation is it's not something that's required. And somewhere, you know what, you also get influenced by what you've heard or what people say. Like, this is politics. Somebody's terminology could be misunderstood very differently from you. And then somebody says, and then you always have been told like politics is dirty.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to bring it in uh, somewhere along, since that's the way it's tagged. You don't want to bring it into your life. You think that your life will get impacted.
Okay.
So, a hearsay, or what you understand without knowing the exact entity and getting influenced by it, um, is actually very damaging to us.
So let me understand, let me see if I got you right, Anjana. What I hear you say is that because we automatically term politics as dirty, we don't engage in it. Whereas one can look beyond that tag and do active stakeholder management. Is that what I hear you say?
Yeah, that is one. And like
Okay.
right now, you have put it in a particular way, and Ashish immediately his acceptance of the connotation to it, okay, was very positive. It's just that it's rephrased in a different way. So I'm not talking about Ashish per se. I'm talking about us as humans somewhere. It's coming saying that this is good, this is bad,
Mhm.
right? So the minute we keep hearing that this is bad, or it would be colored with somebody else's experience that this is bad.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And anything from your workplace, Anjana, how status, threat, or reward worked out for any one of your colleagues? Anything you saw in the...
Okay, so there is, because when you look at uh, status, right? In a lot of places, like you say a cabin or an award or a reward, a status people perceive that it comes with a lot of authority or a control over somebody else. And people always want to see that they are able to control things.
Yeah.
Because it gives them the power, or it doesn't make them feel weak. Can you
Yeah.
really control
Yeah.
somebody? It's a different thing. Like I think
Yeah.
I've been on a crazy journey of where I realized that somebody wanted to control, and today if you want to give them the perceived thought that they can control, do it. Are they really controlling? I don't think. But
So,
it's a journey which takes that realization.
yeah. So now you realize that why people want control, because that increases their status.
Yes, for me it was not so much a status. It was more like people have egos and they don't want it, damage, and and there are different ways that the ego gets fueled.
Mm.
So somewhere, even if you make a comment which is not directed at them, but their ego gets impacted. Like now I understand, like it could be ego, it could be status. I had correlated it to status. For me, it's like, okay, ego damage.
Yeah. So a threat to the ideas that I hold is also a survival threat. Okay. So
Right.
I stand for something and you counter it. Then it's a denying my idea or not accepting my idea is a threat to me, and it reduces my status, or it's the same thing as a survival threat. So we got to be cognizant of that.
Okay. And it's very ironical, right? The same situation, it's come back, and it's like, I know how I can get my work done the way I want to do it, and I know how to make sure you do it this way. And this is the same issue that I faced a couple of years back. And I'm like, you're still making this statement. And now it's like, yeah, it's absolutely, you know, for them, it's difficult to align to a different way of thought or thinking, right? And the process. So it's absolutely a strategy status. And this time around, it was like it was it was so for me. It was amusing to see that they were articulating it in a forum, right, where that person's boss is also there. So you're making your public, you know, uh, I would say. I don't know if it is negative or positive or whatever, but you're making it public. And it's crazy, if unconsciously you're making it public, then you could imagine that, how deep ingrained it is. I mean, consciously or unconsciously you're voicing it and making it a public
Yeah,
view. Yeah.
interesting. Interesting, Anja. Thank you. So now we look at the next one, which is certainty. Okay. So our brain absolutely loves certainty. And every time something is not clear, our brain literally goes into an error response. It just can't figure out what's going to happen. Now, look at it in terms of job uncertainty. Okay. Somebody whose job is under threat. It is not certain that he's going to lose it, but is just under threat, then that person's complete attention, he'll be completely distracted at work, wondering what is going to happen to his job. When people are told that your job is not going to be there, they can still deal with it. But till the time there is that uncertainty, they don't know how to deal with it. Suppose I don't know whether I'm going to get my lunch or not because my wife is not at home. If I know that lunch is not there, then I'll go and order something. But if I don't know whether it is there or not, then my mind will completely get occupied. Think of it in terms of how OTTs design, the web series, how they keep people hooked on to. Just before they will end an episode, they will include something which will, want you to have that information. So anytime there is something which is not uncertain, something which is uncertain will completely get your mind distracted, and you will not be able to focus on what you want to do. And other ways to think, there are many different ways you can think about it. Think about it in terms of the presentation you have made to your boss. आपने बहुत बढ़िया फंडू प्रेजेंटेशन किया और बॉस आपको बोलता है मजा नहीं आया. अरे मजा नहीं आया क्या मतलब होता है? You tell me what is wrong, what is not wrong. So that is where our brain is looking for that certainty in feedback. A general statement, this is not good enough. What does that mean? So when it comes to feedback, what can you give certain specific feedback? Or think in terms of job role. If the person is hired in a company but is not clear on what he's expected to do, or if the boss does not clarify to the subordinate what is expected of him or her, so the performance will be so pathetic. Okay, so the more we can make things clear for ourselves, for others, the better it is. The more uncertain they are, the worse off it is. Think in terms of relationships. If the wife is suspecting that the husband is having an affair, if she knows that he's having an affair, that's a different thing. Just suspecting is a different thing. Or knowing that he will never have an affair because he's so committed to me. Or for children to know that my parents are certainly in love with each other. So everywhere, in every aspect of our life, our brain is looking for certainty always. Every time there is uncertainty, it generates an error response. Think in terms of investments. Till now a lot of people have developed this affinity. They're still okay investing in shares and mutual funds, but for a large portion of time, people would opt for suboptimal investment in FD, which will give them like 6-7% rate of interest, whereas equities can give them 14-15% rate of interest. But because it is certain, we will stick to suboptimal rate, and we have like lakhs and crores of rupees invested in FDs in India. Think in terms of what are the areas in your life where you are looking at uncertainty and not going for uncertainty, and how is that impacting your life? When you are choosing your career, are you going for a PSU, which will give you a stable but certain job security over a period of time, or a private sector, which is uncertain but higher growth? So, in very different ways, our wanting certainty determines our decisions. Okay, so I'll pause here to see if you have any uh, comments here. Or Venkateshwar, in your case, when you're going and selling policies, people want certainty that I'll get this return, or they want certainty that the claim will get settled when they need it. So how do you communicate that? What are the words you can use, or what is the evidence you can give to make it certain for them? If they are uncertain that I'll get this return, or if they are uncertain that my claim will get settled, they're not going to buy. Okay, so think about it, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Your reflection on certainty, uncertainty.
They want to have the maturity amount certainty, sir.
Maturity. So that's why LIC, they love LIC.
Guaranteed products. There are two types of
Guaranteed
products.
products. Yeah,
Dependent,
yeah. And then,
participating are
yeah,
guaranteed. You can show the guaranteed products. Where you can show the calculation and the worksheet. How many years if it comes, how much it will come. It is a full amount is shown there. That you can show that certainty there. For these people who want to be certain.
yes, yes. So they want to be certain, they will go for low yield products versus uncertain but high yield products. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So, look at in terms of relationships. A girl will marry a guy only if she is certain that he will be able to take care of her. Or a guy will marry a girl if he's certain that she will be able to take care of him and her family. So we are always looking for certainty. Anything coming up for anyone?
Yes, I was sharing with you about my current boss and how biased and etc. etc. But after this certainty things, I think that I need to present evidence so that he knows for certain that I am in control. There are challenges, but these challenges were foreseen, and there will be a way out. Right now, I don't know what is the way out, but there will be. So maybe this evidence I need to present to him, demonstrate so that he is certain.
Beautiful, very powerful sharing. So see how this plays out for you, Sadeshna. If you can help him get more sense of certainty, he has more sense of control and he's more confident. Yes, Ashish.
See, sir, this is very, very relevant in all our day-to-day lives because see, when we have a difficult situation, our mind tends to think for certainty.
Hmm.
In my case, I'm having a double uncertainty in the personal problem, family problem, as well as in the job front. I'm serving notice period
Yeah.
and looking for a new opportunity. So the best example which I took, I am doing my best, being patient and being resilience, whatever I'm showing. But parallelly, my mind instigated me to contact through the friend circle, which are learned astrologers, to get us some kind of hang of it that what will happen in coming time. So people go to astrologers only to get a sense of certainty.
Yeah. We always wanting certainty. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Because if you see the person, this who was the founder of AstroTalks, so that fellow could not do well in his career in the beginning, but when he founded this AstroTalks, he's calling the people astrologers on his platform, and he's providing astro services as cheap as 99 rupees, 199 rupees, and now his business has grown more than 100 crores because
Mm.
everyone in the country wants certainty.
Indeed. Yeah.
I was
So,
reading his article once.
yeah. So their business model around certainty, right? Uh,
Yes, yes,
yeah. If you look at Domino's deliveries, they promise you that we will deliver in 30 minutes, right? That's certainty.
yes,
And
yes,
sometimes there can be unintended consequences of certainty in the sense that their accident rates actually went up when they started promising it because everybody was driving too fast to meet. So that is the other side of the, but interesting observation, Ashish. Really appreciate that.
thank you.
Then, Ashish, just one thing about certainty. I think it's more that we want to know what we should be doing next, right? Flight or flee. It's just there in our DNA that an action has to be taken. So for us to take an action, we are dependent on something that we call a stimulus or the way our brain functions. So if today I want to do something, I'm waiting for a stimulus to do it. And this is where, the certainty thing comes up. But if you're confident, like say the same thing as markets, right? You raise the thing to increase, like people want guaranteed returns, they're more comfortable knowing how much they will get. Um, but there are a lot of people who would still look at a possibility of uncertainty and taking a risk with an in thing of getting a much higher return, but understanding the risks and
Mm.
seeing if the risks can be mitigated with X, Y,
Yeah,
Z or with
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Because if you're looking at an insurance policy, there either ways a 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 year sort of tenure.
Yeah.
And the risk mitigation in them is very different. But then they're not willing to look at that aspect of risk mitigation. And in their mind, the sense of security or action or something is either black or white.
Mm. Yeah.
So this is something that the DNA is trained for because in the good old days, survival was survival, right? So you had to act at that minute.
Mm. Yeah.
So that guarantee, it can be to certain extents managed if we accept it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very beautifully said, Anjana. The point about uncertainty is understanding that uncertainty is welcome. Okay. And so every time uncertainty is there, embracing it and seeing what beautiful will come out. So what if something beautiful will, just because our brain is wired for certainty, not let it short circuit our mind. So opening ourselves up to embracing uncertainty, assuring our mind that our survival is not necessarily a threat is one of the ways to deal with, and that the growth happens when we uh, open ourselves up for uncertainty, right? Uh, if I wanted certainty, I would have continued in my job, but I opened myself up to uncertainty and I'm growing year on year. So any business, any entrepreneur, when they start, they have no idea of what it's going to be, the journey is going to be like, but they open themselves up, and that way they open themselves up to growth. And one thing I missed discussing earlier about when we were talking about status is the best way to increase our status is to get better than ourselves every day on day basis, month on month basis. So rather than compare ourselves and run ourselves down or kind of inflate our egos, it's better to compare ourselves with ourselves and see whether I'm getting better on a day-to-day basis. So that is about status. Then now we have done certainty. And the next one, which is in SCARF, is autonomy, which is the degree of control I have over my life's circumstances. And this is very closely related to all the health and longevity also. So the more autonomy I have, the more control I have over what I do, or I, determines how happy I am. It is a determinant of reduction in stress, increase in happiness, better health, and longevity. And now, if you look back and see, if your status is higher, then you have more certainty and more autonomy also, right? So sometimes autonomy is also related to the status. That is why status is at the foundation of everything that we want, because it helps in every other aspect of our living. Think it in terms of telling somebody to do something or asking them, would you like to do this? So giving them an option to do it is a better way to, that gives the employee a better sense of satisfaction. Look, think of it in terms of work from home culture or a hybrid work culture where you can choose which day to go to office. You have more control over what where I work from, which day, where, or you tell the employee that this is what needs to be done, but you let the employee decide how it is to be done rather than stand behind his back and breathe down his neck. So are you a micromanager, or you give people freedom? Or think in terms of your bosses, how are they managing you? Are they giving you autonomy, or are they uh, really driving you nuts, my way or highway kind of bosses? Uh, so this is about autonomy, and I'll pause here to see uh, what are your how you're thinking. Think it in terms of the children. You give children the freedom to eat what they want to eat when they want to eat. I'm not saying like get let them eat a lot of junk, but little bit of freedom about what they want to eat or what they want to do, the career they want to choose. Little like Sudeshna, she gave her daughter the autonomy to choose her career, and she's happier today, right? So my father gave me the freedom to choose what I wanted to study, and that's pretty much helped me a lot. So how is this playing out in your lives? Autonomy.
No, there is a little difference. I did not give any autonomy. She did it, and I had to accept. Initially, I wasn't, but later
But
on,
she
I had
she
no
she
other
had the yeah. She
choice.
she had the autonomy. She took that decision, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
She had the autonomy to take that decision.
So एक एक फिल्म मुझे याद आ रहा है. आई डोंट रिमेम्बर द फिल्म, बट मतलब नाम याद नहीं आ रहा है, बट शायद दिल धड़कने दो, where this famous, that reel got also very famous, jahan Farhan Akhtar is talking to Rahul Bose that freedom, we do not give freedom, it is there, we have to nurture spaces that will encourage people to feel free. Yeah, so that is something which I realized at a later stage, that the freedom is not to be given. You have to feel that I am free. Even when you are providing freedom, it is somebody is giving and that's why you are taking. There it is also restricted. But when you nurture a space where you can take decisions freely and feel responsible for what you have done, that is ideal. So that kind of a space, again, difficult but not impossible.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking that to be dictated by certainty, by survival, by status, by autonomy, um, um, also means that I am having a closed mind. Whereas when I open up, I am ready to share the space or be okay with uncertainty, not being perturbed by status decrease, or then I am moving towards a close or towards an open mind.
Yeah.
So rewiring the brain is also Jaruri.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, in that same, in Earl Nightingale's video, where he is saying that uh, there is this huge earth moving machine, and there is one person on the top who is controlling it. So finally, who is on the driver's seat? That is what is I'm recalling while undergoing this session.
Very nice. And there is another thing which comes up very important pertaining to what you said, Sudeshna. Having freedom as our core values, will I be in a job which pays me double the salary but gives me half the freedom? No freedom, where I'm being told every time what I want to do, what I should do, right from morning till evening. Or, I have half the salary but double the freedom, so, or think in terms of relationships, having a spouse. I'm not talking about you, but generally having a spouse who's controlling each other, or both the spouses or parents trying to control children, or, siblings. Freedom is so core to our sense of being. Think in terms of India freedom struggle. We fought so much. So many people lost their lives just to have the autonomy to run our nation. So this is very core to our sense of being. And whenever we are denying autonomy to someone, we are taking away that sense of freedom. And when we grant it, it's like almost like giving life. So thank you for bringing that up. Uh, Ashish, Anjana, Venkateshwar, anything you would like to share? Okay, moving on. The next one is relatedness. Now, this is a sense of who's a friend or foe. Okay, and think in terms of our years in the jungle. Everybody who is unknown to me is a potential foe. Okay, is a potential enemy. क्योंकि वो मार सकता है मेरे को. And I would tend to consider him as an enemy till he introduces himself as a friend. He comes and introduces himself. So think in terms of a party, or think in terms of a organization. If somebody new joins, right? How do we welcome him? Are we very friendly towards him? Or how would our response be if he comes and introduces himself to us? So research shows that typically till somebody comes and introduces himself or herself, the person is subconsciously labeled as an enemy. And once the contact is established, then it doesn't take too much for the enemy to turn into a foe. But subconsciously, anybody who is not known is an enemy. So we need to be very conscious of how we treat this at workplace. How do we induct new employees? We should be very sensitive to that. Or how do we, if the daughter-in-law is getting married and coming into the family, how do you make her feel? Or whichever way it plays out in your life. And what matters most is the quality of our relationships. And this is something which Ken Honda also talks about in his book Happy Money, which he has written after surveying 12,000 millionaires. And at the end of this book, which is all about money, he says that it is the quality of relationships which matter more than having money. Because if your money is gone, but you have the relationships, you can still get back all the money. But if your relationships are gone, then it's very difficult to get anything back. Uh, so we need to understand this, that in the context of society, in context of our friends, family, how is this relatedness playing out? Okay, and the last one that we have for today is fairness. And there's a very interesting example the author talks about. He says if there are two chimpanzees. Okay, let me first share the example of human beings. If I have got 100 rupees, okay, just like that, a bonus, and I come and tell Venkateshwar, I got this 100 rupees, just like that. And, I'm so happy. I want to share 10 rupees with you. What will you think? What would you think? I'm fair or unfair? You can type in the chat. If you think I am fair, type F. If you think I'm unfair, type UF. I get 100 rupees just like that. And Venkateshwar is my friend. I go and tell Venkateshwar, ये मेरे को 100 रुपये मिला, 10 रुपये तुम रखो. Fair, okay? It's your bonus, you are sharing it, okay? Unfair. So Deshna says unfair, okay? Ashish, Venkateshwar, you also need to say. Just because you're getting 10 rupees, you can't be quiet. N means what? Unfair or fair? Fair. Venkateshwar says fair, okay. Yes, Ashish?
No, not fair.
Not fair, right? Unfair. So Sudeshna and Ashish say not fair. Okay. And that is what most of the people would think. Because they'll say, अरे इसको तो 100 रुपये मिला, but मेरे को खाली 10 रुपये दे रहे हैं. Very unfair. Okay. That's how human beings think. People think आधा आधा तो करना चाहिए था, अगर देना है तो आधा आधा देता है ना, कि 10 रुपये क्या दे रहा है. This is how humans think. But chimpanzees don't think like that. So they did a survey where one chimpanzee had 100 bananas and he gives one to the other one. And that chimpanzee which gets one is very happy क्योंकि उसके पास तो पहले कुछ भी नहीं था, अब उसको एक मिल गया, तो he is better off, so he is very happy. But human beings are not like that. Okay, human beings बोले अरे मेरे को 10 ही मिला, उसको तो 100 मिला, उसने मेरे को 50 देना चाहिए था. So we have this I won't say a cockeyed view of fairness. Okay, and that becomes very important for us in our lives, that we are not only fair, but we are perceived to be fair. In our organizational context, also think in terms of when you're giving promotions, when you're giving increments, or when you're in the family, are you being perceived as a fair? Because this threat of, or this perception of being unfair can really impact your effectiveness. Nobody likes to be led by a boss who is perceived to be unfair. Nobody likes being unfair. And as you saw, it is not whether you are really fair or not. If I'm giving 10 rupees to Venkateshwar, it is not about I'm unfair, but people may perceive that to be unfair because I'm not distributing it equally. So this sense of fairness and unfairness plays out in our relationships, and we need to be cognizant of that. Now, I'd like to finish this by sharing this with you. If you have a boss who makes you realize all good things about you, okay? And when he is only talking about what is good about you or makes you notice good things about you, is he increasing your status or reducing your status? Type I if you think he's increasing, okay? Yeah. Sudeshna, I, okay. Ashish, Venkateshwar. All right. So when my boss is talking good about me publicly, making me notice good things about myself, is increasing my status. My boss is very clear with what he expects of me. Is he being certain?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. He gives me the freedom to do what I want to do as long as the targets are being met. Or, he gives me a target and lets me choose how to do it, right? That way he gives me autonomy. And he connects with me at a human level. Like my boss, my current boss that I work with, the organization I'm a consultant to, uh, almost always he would start the conversation by first talking about my family. Okay. And then the business comes and treats you fairly. Right. Now, if you have a boss like this, what happens? What is the impact of having a boss who talks good about you publicly, is clear about what he expects of you, gives you freedom? Yes, Venkateshwar.
He gets whatever expected results, sir.
He'll
What
get
is
expected
implementation, whatever you want to implement, get implemented with happiness.
with
All the
happiness.
goals,
Okay.
happiness.
Anybody else?
It helps to motivate the person because he's talking good about you and he's clear about the goals.
Yeah.
So we tend to perform in a better way that and we tend to prove that we have come and lived up to his expectations.
Very nice, motivated, happy, perform, right? So now think, yeah, we go the extra mile, the discretionary performance that happens. Now I'll request you to reflect on the questions which were there in your mind or the challenges you mentioned that you have in workplace relationships or other things, and reflect on what we have discussed today so far, and tell me if some of those have either partially or fully been addressed or not. If yes, then it's good. Come back and say, yes, this is the bulb on I had, and it helps me. And if not, then come back with your question, unmute yourself and ask a question, and we'll delve deeper into managing your emotions and emotions of other people. And this is okay, Sudeshna, thank you. Uh, and sometimes people ask me, is this not manipulation? I'm no, this is not manipulation. We are not being manipulative for our own benefit. We are managing our emotions and emotions of other people for overall good of everybody. This is not manipulation. Ashish, Anjana, Venkateshwar, does this help address the challenges you had in mind when we started the session?
Yes, sir. Lot of
Okay.
help.
It helped a lot.
Especially the
Good.
sentence you have to create environment so people will feel comfortable to express their emotion. That is the biggest takeover today, sir. Because
Okay.
how to get to check out how to create the environment, so it will
Yeah.
help me as well as others, sir. In that office politics, it consider as stakeholders challenge. Things, sir. And embracing uncertainty will help us to develop ourselves in all our fields. So we want to be certain, but if you can be comfortable with uncertainty, it our progress might be much better. That's what I got from today's.
Very nice, Venkateshwar. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Anjana. Ashish ji?
It's very useful, sir.
Okay.
It's very useful. The things are the scarf model I had learned in my corporate. It was a training in Crompton Greaves 4 years back. So I had attended it 3.5 years back. But we see all the things, even if we know, we should remember at every instance, every stage of our life. We tend to forget and tend to behave the way we are hardwired.
Hmm, hmm. That is why reinforcement is very important, Ashish ji.
Yes,
And
yes, it is very useful. It's very useful. Thank
thank
you.
thank you, Ashish. So on that happy note, shall we close that, or would you like to? Okay, I think we'll close the session today. Our next session will be same time on next Sunday, 8:45 a.m. Yeah, and that's about ego identification. That is something which Sudeshna and Anjana have done, but you still come back, it will still be relevant for you. Okay, so on that happy note, we'll draw the session to a close and stay active on the group and keep sharing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody. Have a good day.
Good day. Bye.
Bye.